So do stay in touch. If there ever is anything you need from me, you ever at least an email response. Send me your personal email address so that next time I'm and Google Plus. I think you're not quite a bunch of Google Plus. I'll let you know next time I go to Fedora.
Welcome to our next talk. Guys, please could you... Our next talk will be about what's new in Fedora infrastructure by Pierre-Yves Chibon, I hope. So, please tell us.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me well? No? Okay, I'll speak louder then. So good morning, everyone. Thanks you for coming. I'm Pingu, also known as Pierre-Yves Chibon for the full name. And I've been working in the Fedora engineering group for a little less than 2 years now, but I've been working with them for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years now. What I would like to present to you today is a little bit what we have been working on over the last year, what we are working on today, and what we might be working on in the future. And then the idea is, please do ask questions if you have anything. I'm probably going to go pretty quickly through the different applications, so if you don't know what it is or what it does, or if I'm not clear enough, just feel free to interrupt at any time and ask questions. The more questions, the more interesting it gets. So quickly, I'm actually around since 2007 in the Fedora world. Started ambassador, became packager, learned Python. Turned out that I'm now working in the infrastructure part. So I've been around different places. I've been in different groups, which is nice because you get to know some people. I even know some Java folks. So you get to know a little bit what the different what's at stake in the different groups. So that gives you a little bit of an overview of what we are doing and where. So on the thing that we worked in 2014, so the infrastructure, we have a part which is about sysadmin, we have a part which is about applications, so I'm going to cover both in the talk. We are currently moving our infrastructure from Puppet to Ansible. This gives us, so while we do that, we actually also move from Real 6 to Real 7, because most of our servers are actually in Real. This has moved quite nicely. I think we have only 38 instances, machines, which are left on Puppet. out of the 200 and something that we have. So this is a good progress. We had the FAD, so Fedora Activity Days in Raleigh in the US in December, where we have been able to work to smash out some work and get things moving. And so, like I said, we're moving from the host from Puppet to Ansible, and at the same time, we are moving them from Real 6 to Real 7. This is something which will not reach 100%, because there are some applications that we know are not going to be ported to Real 7. So, for example, we are the Fedora account system, the Fedora account system, FAS, is currently it's in version 2, so major version 2. It's a TurboGear 1 application, which means that it needs the whole TurboGear Python stack. And we are not going to move the TurboGear stack to Real 7. So this is an application which is going to stay in Real 6 until we actually upgrade the application to a new version, so FAS3, which I'm going to come back to afterward. The nice thing is that we have more and more Fedora running in our own infrastructure, and that's all the builders. So the CodeG builders, they're all running Fedora. And I think we have all of them running Fedora 21, except two which are running Fedora 20, and these are the ARM builders. So this is nice and handy. We also moving to, we used to have application servers. So you would have one server which would run, so we have load balance. So one server, two servers will be running 2 or 3 applications at the same time, which means that if one application goes wow, then other application might stop working. So we have been moving to a model of one service, one machine. So, well, in this case, it's more often one service, 2 machines to do the load balancing still. So that gives us higher isolation, and it's easier for us to track down what's going on. And we also have a higher chance that if one system goes down, the other ones are still running next to it. The only problem is, of course, if one of the proxy goes down, because then all the systems are out of reach. So, you know, we still have some points of failure sometime. One thing that we have been working on the sysadmin-wise is making our life easier. And for that, we have been relying on FedMessage. So there are 2 examples here where we're actually using FedMessage within the infrastructure, which is the Gitolite ACL. So the Gitolite is what we use to manage the Git repos for the RPMs. The ACLs of who is allowed to do what on the Git repos is actually managed by PackageDB. And for every action that's happening in PackageDB, a message is sent to the FedMessage bus. We have a consumer on the machine that just listens to the bus, and every time there is an update in PackageDB, we regenerate the Gitolite ACL on the fly. So basically, if you give someone access to one of your package, within a couple of minutes, this person is going to be able to actually commit to that package directly.
I have a question. So how do you deal with lost messages? Because that message is not really 100%. Right?
So the question is, how do we deal with lost messages? Well, there are 2 things there. Quite often, when someone is granted ACLs, there's going to be more than one message, because most of the time it's going to be granted more than one ACL on more than one branch eventually. So the chances to miss several packages is then lower. The second thing is we have a cron that runs on a bi-daily basis. So in the worst case, if we missed the message that we should not have missed, and nobody actually updated PackageDB in the meanwhile, well, in the worst case, 6 hours after, the Git is going to be up to date. It's always possible to just drop by on RSC and say, well, I've requested this branch and I still can't commit, and it's been 3 hours. Could you please look at that? So that's always an option. So, but in the worst case, we have the backup with the cron. Another place where we do that is also with the FAS. So if you become a sysadmin apprentice, you actually get added. You actually get shell access to the Fedora infrastructure, and this means that, well, the sysadmin apprentice group is managed in FAS. If you update your SSH key, that's also managed in FAS. So we have a consumer that just listens to the FAS message and says, well, if you updated your profile and if you change your SSH key, then update the SSH key on all the machines in the infrastructure. If you've been added to a group and that this group is one of the sysadmin that gives you a shell account to one of the machines, update all the machines where you get this. So it's not as fast as the Gitolite, because we have the isolation of one service, 2 machines, is actually blowing up the number of machines that we have. So it basically takes about 20 minutes to actually update all the SSH in all the machines. All the user SSH, everything is rebuilt then. So it takes within 20 minutes, basically. If you get added to the sysadmin apprentice group, within 20 minutes, you should be able to SSH on the host. Some of the hosts is going to be earlier than that. Some of the hosts is going to be later than that. But within 20 minutes, you should be done. Application-wise, well, that was actually pretty funny because we have a lot of work in progress, but I haven't found so many things that are actually nowadays running in productions. So that was a little bit, in a way, disappointing, but I found 3 places. We have the FMN, so that's the short for Fed Message Notification. So the idea is that all of our applications are sending are sending notifications. So if you do an update in Bodhi, you get an email from Bodhi that says you made an update in Bodhi. If someone comments on your update in Bodhi, you get an email saying someone commented on your update in Bodhi. And these things can be very boring. So if you get like all the emails from Koji that you built the package, that the package built successfully, that the package was tagged into update testing, that the package was pushed into update testing, that the garbage collection passed, and that your package, an old build of yours is going to be removed. So you can get a lot of emails from that. And this is only like Bodhi and Koji. Then you have PackageDB, then you have FAS, then you have Fedora is also sending a couple of emails. So all of these applications are sending in notifications, and this is annoying for us as developer because then it means that we actually have to write code to send notification in each of our application, and it's annoying for you as user because you cannot choose which notification you want to get and which you don't want to get. So that's the FMN is the answer to that question. It basically allows you to choose. It relies on Fed message, and it basically allows you to choose which notification you want to get and which one you don't want to get. And when we pushed FMN in production, we were very happy, and we were like, okay, let's tell you everything about what you're doing and everything about what's happening to your package and everything about everything, pretty much. And that ended up with people getting grumpy with FMN because they were getting more emails than they had before. And that's pretty much not the idea of FMN itself. So we have been working on getting new defaults and also having the possibility of saying, well, to negate a rule. So the FMN works with rules, so you can say, well, give me notification about message following this rule. And we're actually now able to say, well, give me notification about message that don't follow this rule, or about all the message that follow this rule except for the one that don't follow these and these rules. So you can start to negate rules, which makes things also easier. So you want to know everything about your package except if you did it. So if you push an update in Bodhi, then you know you pushed an update in Bodhi. You don't need to get an email about it. But if someone else commented on your update in Bodhi, then actually that might be something interesting to know. So these are the possibilities. These are the new filters that we went for, and we provided a very handy reset all the filters button, which allows you to basically drop all the filters that you had so far, and then you go back to the default filters, which you can then tweak. We have been also working on getting some Fed message monitoring. So there are times in the year where we actually flood the Fed message pretty badly. There is a branching part when we branch all the package for a new release where PackageDB sends about 20,000 emails in a few hours, minutes. I've been flooding the bus a couple of times this year, mostly with Perl packages. I don't know if there is any Perl person in the room, but yeah, you've been getting some emails from me. Sorry about that. So one of the things that FMN can do in that respect is you can tell him, well, if you see a message from PackageDB, most of them there's going to be more than one. So just wait 5 or 10 minutes and just send me all the notification in one email instead of getting 10 emails for each notification. So that's save bandwidth and gather the information in one place. I don't know how the Perl seed will want to deal with that, but that might be at one point something to look into. Then there is the Taskotron. So that's part of the infrastructure, not really made by the Fedora engineering because this is more the QA folks. There is Tim in the room. Where do you use it there? He just gave, and next to him, he just gave a nice presentation. So if you haven't seen it, then I encourage you to watch the YouTube video, which I'm going to do anyway. Next to that, I also a bunch of screenshots. So to give you a small idea, this is one of the front page for FMN. So it's not really. Yeah, I can't really see that. So basically, you have a small text at the front. You can choose between email and REC notification. So that's quite handy because then you can say, well, if my build on Koji works, just send me a notification by IRC. But if it fails, send it to me by emails. Because then you can actually track your to-do list and say, well, I have all these builds that failed, and I have them on my mailbox, and I know I can come back to find exactly which Koji build was and go back to the logs and find out what was wrong. But if it works, then I just want an IRC notification, and then I can just do the update in Bodhi. The next page is the actual filters. So these are also my filters. These are pretty much the defaults that you get. I'm going to try to use the mouse here. Let's see if that works. Yeah, there it is. So the small purple symbol here means that it's a negate rule. So that's basically, this rule is basically give me everything that's happening to me except for things of a particular user, and that user being Pingu. So basically tell me everything which I don't do. There is then a particular Koji instance, so basically give me everything which is happening to my package except for secondary arch, because I must say I don't follow so much of secondary arch, and I don't really, that's the problem to fix my package. And Peter is not here, so I can say it. Sorry?
I'll tell him.
Yeah, please do so. There is basically the Copper build starting, so the build started in Copper. I'm not very interested, but I want to know when if it's ended, so the ended rule is not included here. And then, so a bunch of the list, and then I wanted to point out the reset button here. So if you already have an FMN account, feel free to log in again and then reset to the default rule, so you're going to have a much more sane notification system. One addition is if you're a packager and you do not have an FMN account yet, you're going to get one. That's basically planned for next week. From next week on, every packager is going to get automatically an FMN setup with these default rules. And every new packager, so we have, again, a fed message consumer that just listens to people being added to the packager group. And as people are added to the packager group, they are getting an FMN notification, an FMN account. Question?
So there used to be the Android push notifications. Are they gone? Or?
So the question is, there used to be the Android push notification. At the moment, you have email notification, IRC notification, and there is plan and there is work being done to actually get notification on your Android device. This has never been finished. It's still under work, basically. It's still on the pipes, it's still being planned, but it wasn't there before, that's what I mean. The situation doesn't change. It wasn't there before, it's still not in prod yet, but it's still something that is being planned at one point. It will be pretty cool to be able to get notification on your phone that your Bodhi update has reached karma threshold and is being pushed to stable. Okay, so that was for 2014. So now we reach a little bit more interesting part, which is all the things that we have done in 2014 and that are reaching the point where you're going to see them pretty soon. Things that you're not going to see, but that makes our life easier, is again the sysadmin part. We are still working on more fed message integration. One of the things is like, so I'm going to make a small digression here. We have been working on package-db2 so that new branch process. So at the moment, if you want a new branch for an existing package, you need to go to Bugzilla, eventually find the review request of the original package. If you don't find it, you open a new ticket, and then you enter this templates and says that you want to get this package being branched for that and that branch. Now, the idea is that you will be able to do that directly in package-db2. And this is quite nice because package-db sends fed message. So if a package is branched in package-db and the branch is approved, we can directly update the Git repos. So within a few minutes, you can ask for a Fedora branch, get it approved, and get your Git repo updated, and you're directly able to push to it. So that's going to make our life much easier because we don't have to do it anymore. And that's going to make your life quicker because you don't have to wait for us anymore. One thing also is that we're reaching the point where we're going to drop Puppet. There are still some things, like I said, FAS3 is not going to move to Real 6. So we probably have to move FAS2 to Ansible, but keeping it in Real 6. There are hosts which are like, so we have the host which runs Puppet's master itself, which is going to be the last one to go, of course. So there's still some work to do in the pipe, but hopefully soon enough we will be able to drop Puppet, which means that our complete infrastructure setup in Ansible is public. So everything which how we set up our infrastructure is actually Puppet is actually public because our Ansible repo is public, which the Puppet one is not. There was a question on the back.
Just to ask why you choose the Ansible.
So the question is, why did we choose Ansible? There are a couple of things in there. One of them is we are a Python group mostly. The team knows Python very well, and we don't know Puppet that well. We don't know Ruby that well. So one of the aspects was programming language. There are different things. There is the idea that Ansible does not require you to have a client, because instead of being pull, so the nodes are actually asking the master, it's push, so the master is pushing to the nodes. So you don't need anything on the client itself. Puppet is not necessarily sequential. It can run multiple tasks in parallel, while Ansible is completely sequential. And that's actually something which, for us, is quite handy, because you can make sure that the directory exists before you put the configuration file in there. We found the syntax, that's probably personal preferences, but I find the syntax of Ansible much more clear than the one from Puppet. But I've also been playing with Ansible much more than I've been playing with Puppet, because I arrived in the team and I started the sysadmin part in the team at the time where we were moving to Ansible. Can you think of any reason?
Maybe custodial.
Yeah, there is the thing of Puppet being rewritten to Clojure, and we don't really want to have the full Clojure stack to maintain or to bring to us. So Ansible in that respect is much easier because the dependency tree is much smaller. But on the other side, that wasn't an argument at the time we decided to change, because the move to Clojure had not been announced yet. So it's now a good argument, but not actually when we made the decision. Can you think of something, Patrick? No? So yeah, these are going to be the main reasons, basically. So most of our infrastructure in Real 7, so that's what I said before, we're moving towards it. There are 38 hosts left in Puppet, so probably about the same amount which are still running Real 6. We are moving to Git 3. So this is a work that Mathieu, I, and someone from the AC Linux channel on Freenode has been working on. It took us a little bit of time because our Git setup is fairly unstandard, I'm going to say. So we're basically not using Git in the way Git was designed to be used. So that took us a little bit of time, but hopefully, and when I say hopefully, that's basically next week, not Monday, not tomorrow, but the week after, we're going to be able to move our infrastructure from Real 6, Git 2 to Real 7, Git 3 with AC Linux enabled. So that's also pretty cool. On the application side, so this is pretty much the summary. We have changed in PackageDB. We have anitya, which you might have heard of, but it's still pretty much in the pipe, so maybe not. There is the the-new-coolness, which we probably did not heard about because the name is cool, but it's behind the screen, so you can't really see it. There is MirrorManager, and there is the move to Epsilon. So on PackageDB, I already mentioned that we are working on the new branch process, and that actually also includes the new package process. So the idea is that after the review, once the package review is done in Bugzilla, you can ask for the package to be added in PackageDB. And what you did at the moment was you fill up a template in the last comment in Bugzilla, and then you switch the flag from Fedora CVS from nothing to question mark, and then the release engineering guys would come up and set it to plus when they create the git and so on. So nowadays, once the review is approved, you go to Bugzilla, you fill in the name, summary, the URL of the review request, and the branch where you want the package to be added. This is added to a pile of action for Relang to take in PackageDB, and they will process it like they process Bugzilla. So but the life is easier for them because then we actually have a bunch of automated testing. So it's basically going to prevent you from trying to add a package that already exists. I mean, this is basic, but sometimes people don't check that the package is in Fedora before they do the review. So in this case, well, the review has happened, but at least you don't import something that already exists. There is going to be a check that if you're requesting a branch in EPL, it's going to check if it's present in real or not. So that's because one of the basic rules of EPL is that you should not override a package which exists in real base. So we actually check if that's the case or not, and if it's the case, it's going to be then decided if you import this package for a certain architecture, because EPL supports 32 bits, which Real 7 does not. So in this case, that's going to be to the admin actually processing the request, but it's basically going to say, well, this package asks for an EPL 7 branch. This package is present in Real 7 in this and this arch. And then the admin is just going to say, well, I'm fine, just ignore the warning, or sorry, this is a bugger. Same thing for Fedora branch. So it's also going to check like if all the people that contributed to the review are packager or not. So that's only a warning. So someone who is not a packager contributed to the review or not, contributed to the review in this case, and then it's up to the admin to go back to the review and see, well, the person that contributed to the review, did he actually made a preview review? Did he actually made the full review, which is then not allowed because he's not a packager? So who granted the request? Who set the flag? As the person that set the flag for review plus was a packager or not? So there are a number of things which are automatically checked, and that's part of the PackageDB CLI, then package, but based on the information from PackageDB2, which are going to make the life of the Relange people a little easier. One of the things also is that when you request a new branch, if you request a new branch for a Fedora branch, eventually the branch will be automatically granted. And there is a question mark at the end because there is a FAS3 ticket on this. The problem being, are we a community that communicates enough that we are sure that you import a packet X, you ask for master and Fedora 21 because the package doesn't build or doesn't work on Fedora 20, that someone is not going to come behind your back and ask for the Fedora 20 branch without asking you first, well, is there any reason why you did not ask the Fedora 20 branch? So the way it's going to work is, at the moment, if you ask for a Fedora branch, the branch is automatically granted because the package was reviewed and approved in Fedora. That means that if you ask the point of contact for a Fedora 21 and master, explicitly, you made the choice not to request a Fedora 20 branch, someone can come and just get the branch easily. What we could do is, what we do for the EPL request, for the EPL branch, is that when we request a branch in EPL, if the package is not present in real, you have a 7-day period where the request is just on hold, and then the person who have approved ACL on the package in Fedora can just say, well, yes, this branch can go, or they can just block the branch request. So that's even before the region engineering guys see the request. The request just sits there for 1 week for the people to actually review. So we could do the same thing in Fedora. I'm not sure if we want to because, I mean, it's easier and it makes less work if we just grant the branch automatically. But I guess that depends if the people are actually communicating with each other and making sure that there is a reason why this branch wasn't asked or not. One thing that it does as well is you actually cannot ask a branch for someone else. So that's a situation that popped up a little while ago where someone requested a branch for a package and did not put his name as the maintainer, and the request was processed, and therefore somebody else suddenly was the maintainer for the primary point of contact for a branch that he originally did not request. So nowadays, I mean, you're the one doing the action, you're the one getting the branch, your problem. And then we also have something new in PackageDB. This is already in prod, actually.
How do you want to handle the initial CC?
So the initial CC at the moment is not going to be handled there. So it's going to be, once you get the package, you can just go to the PackageDB and give ACL to whoever you like. Since nowadays PackageDB allows you to give ACLs to people, whether they are watch ACL, commit ACL, or even a point of contact, you can directly do it yourself once the package is created in PackageDB. There would be a way to actually do the initial CC. I just haven't done it yet. So maybe it's worth adding it. If people think that we should add the initial CC when a package is requested, we can definitely do it. It's really doable. So one other thing is the monitor flag, and that's actually getting back to the next subject. So nowadays in PackageDB, and that's already something you can see in production, if you go to a package, you're going to see on the top right a small monitor flag on/off with a small switch button. And that basically is the integration with what we have at the moment, which is the upstream monitoring system. And that's a perfect transition to anitya. So anitya is the idea is it's running on releasemonitoring.org. So it's not something which is Fedora branded. It's not something which is meant to be Fedora specific. But the idea is that every distribution and every packager and every downstream consumer, or even developer, just consumer of someone else, want to be aware when there is an update from a project that they are following. So release monitoring just works with project. They don't work with package. They work with project. You just register your project. You register the URL where it's available. You register the backend. So, for example, if it's available on PyPy, if it's available on cpan, if it's available on GitHub, on Gitorious, on Bitbucket, on PHP Peer or PECL. I don't know, yeah, one of these. So basically, you specify the backend, and then from there, the anitya twice a day is going to check: is there a new release of this package? And it's going to announce it via Fed message. It's announcing it in two places. It's announcing it in the Fedora Fed message bus, but it also has its own Fed message bus, which is under the release monitoring domain name, because the idea being that we are not distro specific, that everybody can use it. People might be interested in knowing if there is a new release and just don't want to have all the traffic that goes through the Fedora Fed message bus. Question?
How likely is this being adopted by other distributions?
So at the moment, it's pretty slow. We have a couple of Debian projects which have already been. So a project is just a project upstream with the URL. After that, you can mention this project is packaged in this distribution under this package name, because that's a mapping that we need to know for example, with the integration with PackageDB. So there you can create any distribution you want. You can take any project and map it to any distribution. At the moment, we have all the packages which are coming from Fedora. The upstream monitoring wiki page that we have has been imported here. We have a couple of Debian mapping that has been done, and there is another Linux distribution which is, I think, Polish, PLS, I think. I'm not sure anymore of the acronym. But the guy has been working actually pretty hard to map his distro into the project here. One of the interesting things here is that I actually got the green light from Red Hat Legal that we can integrate any project here. Chrome and Chromiums are listed on releasemonitoring.org because we don't promote any usage, we don't promote any installations, so we actually don't care if it's open source or closed source software. We're just announcing there is a new release of this. It's if you install, if you care, if you don't care, that's not our problem. So Chromium is installed. We can have NVIDIA in there. We can have RPM Fusion can use it as well. There is no problem of licensing of the software itself because we don't distribute. We don't invite people to install. We don't say this is better than that. We're just assuming, well, there is a new version. It also normally checks if there is a newer version. The problem is humans have a very creative way of writing tags and versions and release candidate and beta release and so on and so forth. That sometimes the newer part doesn't work so well. But if it finds a new one, so it actually keeps track of all the versions that he has seen before. And if it just finds one that he has not seen, it's going to publish it. So it might be something, it might be like I found the 1.5 and there was 1.6 before, but at least it will tell you that there is a 1.5. So which can be handy if you get projects which maintains two different branches at the same time. If you get a 2.0 branch and a 1.0 branch. So you're going to say, well, the newest version is 2.0, but it just released a 1.0.5 version. So we still are able to track down projects which have different release schedule. So this is the screenshot to give you a little bit idea of how it looks. This is the front page. It's very basic. What was interesting is that it says that we have currently 5,504 projects which are present there. The screenshot is nicely cut that you actually don't see the menu at the top. That's a pity. But basically at the top you get the About page that tells you how it works a little bit, what are the regular expressions, what are the backends that we use. You get also instruction of if you want to add your project, how to test that things are working. You get information on the Fed message, so the bus, how you want, if you want to listen to the anitya bus, how to set it up. Oh, I need to rush, I only have 10 minutes. Then you can search per project, you can see the distribution, you can see the package in the distribution, you can search by package, by distro. So there are a bunch of, there is a number of options at the top. And all you need is an OpenID. So Fedora uses, FAS provides OpenID, but you also support the Google OpenID, the Yahoo OpenID, or your own OpenID server. There is no restriction on who can access this. That's the idea. So we've seen that we have monitoring flag in PackageDB. We have anitya that informs us that there is a new release, and we have now the the-new-coolness. So the the-new-coolness just basically listens to the Fed message bus. Is there an anitya a new version message coming from anitya? There is a new version. Is it mapped? Is this project in anitya mapped to a package in Fedora? Yes, it is. Is this package in Fedora being flagged as being monitored in PackageDB? And if it is so, then I'm opening a Bugzilla ticket, because that's the current behavior. We open a ticket in Bugzilla saying that there is a new version available. If I open this new version available, I'm retrieving the new release from upstream. I'm cloning the Git repos from our repo with the spec file. I am bumping the new version, dropping the release back to 1 if there was one, doing a scratch build in Koji, and letting you know in Bugzilla if the scratch build was successful or not. One of the ideas being, of course, to be able to add the Git patch to the Bugzilla ticket so that you can also just download it, Git apply, Git push, and done. Of course, one of the ideas being that at some point we are going to drop cgit on the top of our packages.fedoraproject.org and have something which supports pull requests, in which case the the-new-coolness is going not only to open a Bugzilla ticket, but also a pull request on that interface, and then you're just able to, the build was successful, I merged the patch, and I do the official build on Koji. So we are not there yet, but that's one of the things that we would like to reach at one point. And that's the proof that it works. So this has actually been running in staging for a few months now. This is the YouTube DL package so the tickets are open in the partner Bugzilla so that you don't see it. It's built on the Koji in staging so that you also don't see that. And that's basically the YouTube downloads package, which has been missing a couple of updates. So every time there is a new version, there is a new comment on the same ticket. We don't open 2 tickets for the same project if there was not a release in between, if there was not an update on the Fedora side anymore. So we get, so the first one says, yeah, there is a new version. The second message says that the Bugzilla, the scratch build on Koji was successful. Then we get another version, the released upstream. And then the last comment is that the scratch build failed in Koji. So that works. That's great. And we're hoping to push that in production very soon. That's something which we're going to be less, well, everybody uses it. Nobody sees it. This is MirrorManager2. So MirrorManager is basically managing all the mirrors that Fedora is using. It has a few components. One of them is the UI itself, where people register their mirrors, public mirrors, private mirrors. And there is mirror list, which just actually provides the mirrors to Yum. So when you do Yum update, you're actually hitting a mirror manager, which is nice because that's one of the applications where we pretty much don't need Nagios, because as soon as mirror list breaks, someone tells us, because there is always someone running Yum update at one point. So it's one of the applications where we really have the quickest feedback when something breaks, which also makes it one of the most sensible applications. So there is, the old one used to be TurboGear 1. It was like 1.0. It hasn't been updated. Well, it has had updates, but not in technical updates. It was more feature and bug fix since it was created, and it was created for Fedora Core 4. So that started to be a while ago. We have had a complete rewrite of the UI. The mirror list has not changed so that we can actually swap mirror list from MirrorManager1 with mirror list from MirrorManager2. The concepts are the same. It's just going to make our life easier. We don't have to port the whole TurboGear stack to Real 7. We're just going to use MirrorManager to move from Real 6 to Real 7, and hopefully everything is going to work. And we added unit tests, which are also going to make our life a little bit more confident when we actually flip the switch. Something else which you might have heard over the last 2 days is that the authentication system. So we used to have something called FedOff. So back in the days, we had FAS. And our application was creating FAS for every request made against them. We decided that we didn't want that anymore, so we actually created the FAS OpenID. And then we moved our application towards using and porting to OpenID. And then we had the security update at one point, which led us to the question, well, do we actually want to keep the OpenID server within FAS, or do we want to keep it outside? And that was during a FedCon where Patrick wasn't present. So we just asked him on IRC, well, what do you think about putting the OpenID outside FAS? And at the end of the FAD, Patrick, which was back then in American schedule while living in Europe, had written the FedOff, the base of FedOS, which was an outside application, outside of FAS application, which just supports a number of backends, FAS, free IPA, and expose a number of interfaces like SAML, OpenID. That was FedOff. We have been running it for a couple of days now, no, years, sorry. And yeah, yeah, you know. And it turned out that there was some people in Red Hat that was working on similar products. They didn't have all the features of FedOff. They had some others, and the two projects have merged. So now it's called Epsilon. This is the UI for the default for the upstream page. You're not going to see that because we are trying to teach you and all our users to actually only use your fast password in one place, and that's the FedOff part. So you're not going to see this page because we are not going to change the layout when we move. So this is going to be transparent for you. But this is actually pretty cool because that's two projects merging into one. There is a number of people that are actually using it also in production outside the Linux area and our community. I now actually really have to rush on the work in progress. Sorry, one question.
Will Epsilon work with Bodhi?
Epsilon will not work with Bodhi1. It will work with Bodhi2. Thank you for your transition. So Bodhi2, it's in progress. It's getting there. And currently, we are hoping to actually push it in prod in between the Fedora 22 and Fedora 23 place. There is no actual date. It might actually be postponed. It might land earlier than that. Probably not, though. But it's there. It's getting there. And I have screenshots to prove it. It's there. So it's gonna have a better karma. It's gonna be able to do dependencies between updates, so that you don't have to create one big update when you have different packages. You will be able to report exactly which Bugzilla ticket this update fix, and not all of them as you can do now. So it's gonna be a little more flexible as to what you can report against and how you can build your updates. Then there is FAS3, so I've already been mentioning it. FAS2 is not going to move to Rails 7, so we are working on a rewrite. It's going to have a new UI. So this is the front page as it looks now. I have even the page for group information. So there are a number of information which are going to be public, while they are now private. But we do keep your private information private, of course. One of the things is, of course, that we also want to improve accessibility from tools like CLI to authenticate. So we are not sure yet if it's going to be part of Epsilon or FAS, but we should be able to have like access via tokens so that you can query the API a little bit easier than what we are now using. And then there is the HyperKitty MainMan3 stories. So HyperKitty is the new archiver from MainMan3. MainMan3 is the new the-new-coolness. Sorry. So there have been quite some change on that one. They changed the way that they interact with the database. They used to have Storm, they moved to SQL Alchemy. The MainMan 3.0 was supposed to be Python 2, and eventually Python 3 compatible, or at least get Python 3 support in 3.1. They changed the plan to be Python 3 from the start. So MainMan 3 is going to be Python 3 only. So that has delayed the release. When I started to work on HyperKitty, that was about 2 years ago. Okay, we need to rush. It was about 2 years ago. They said they would release by Christmas. Nowadays, they are saying that they might be releasing in April this year. We'll see. And HyperKitty just need to adjust with these things, so it takes a while. And as long as MainMan hasn't released, HyperKitty cannot really release. I'm out of time, but I still have project. Do you guys want me to continue, or?
Maybe to 25, but let's stop if you still have something really important to say.
I have 2 slides, one being the question slides, and then that one. So you might have heard about this. Progit is a little bit of a Git-centered forge. The idea is being able to renovate Fedora hosted eventually, or being able to host your own GitHub-like service. So it's really simple at the moment. It just does, you can browse the code, you can see the tree, or the Git tree, you can see the tags, you can see the commit, the diff, and so on. You can fork a project, you can do pull requests. It's going to be something that's started as an exercise, basically. I wanted to see how Git and Python was interacted, and then led to something which already looks quite all right, and we'll see if we can get it even better. We want to have a bunch of hooks. We want to be able to put documentation within the Git and then just display it in REST, Markdown, HTML, or just raw text. We want to make it Fed message aware. One of the grand ideas of the project would be that we would be able to have 2 progit instances that would be able to keep in sync with each other. So you would have like a private instance, a public instance, and the same project on both instances would keep in sync, because all the data is stored in the Git. So the tickets are stored in Git, the source code is stored in Git, the documentation is in Git. The pull requests are not yet in Git, but that's something which needs to be fixed. And therefore, you could just Git pull in one place, Git push on the other place, and keep in sync 2 instances. And with that, I would welcome any questions, but we're out of time, so I hope you ask all your questions already, or otherwise just catch me in the corridor and I'll be around. Thank you.
There is, yeah, okay. Great.